Welcome to the Construction Industry Alliance for Suicide Prevention webcast. For today's webinar, your lines will be muted throughout the presentation. However, we encourage you to submit your questions through the chat box at any time. Questions will be answered at designated portions of the program or at the conclusion, so please type them in at any time. This presentation is being recorded and will be posted to the CIASP website. I would now like to introduce CIASP's Chairman, Michelle Walker, VP Finance and Administration at SSC Underground.
Thanks, Nicole, and welcome everybody. We appreciate you taking your time to join us today, and for some of you possibly learn more about the CIASP for the first time, and for others of you who have been engaged for some period of time to kind of catch up on where we are at now. So to start, I would like to just go through just kind of the plan for today so you kind of know what to expect, give you kind of a catch up on who we've been and where we're at today, and introduce you to some of the key members of the CIASP team. We're going to review the new pledge to stand up for suicide prevention so you have a better understanding of what that means to be a stakeholder in the organization. We're going to talk about the different stakeholder groups, and we have some great people on the line with us today that will share kind of their role as stakeholders in the Alliance. We'll go through the resources that are available on the website and just go through the website itself since it's brand new launched in the last few months. We'll talk about ways that you can help out possibly with fundraising, give you some ways that you can connect with us, and then talk about some next steps to stay involved with the Alliance. So a brief history of the CIASP. It started in 2015 with an idea from Cal Beyer, who many of you know as a longtime risk management professional in the construction industry. And he pitched an idea to have an article in the Construction Financial Management Association's Building Profits magazine, the editor of which is on the call with us today, Christy, and you'll hear from her later. And that article started within the CFMA organization, a lot of conversation, and just generated a lot of interest around the topic of suicide in the construction industry. Shortly thereafter, he kind of presented the idea to a friend of mine, Dave James, who will also be on the call. You'll hear from him in a little bit. And we realized this morning, Dave and I were both at a board meeting, and it was this November board meeting 4 years ago in 2015 when we first discussed the idea of holding a suicide prevention summit. We held that summit in April of 2016 here in Phoenix, and that brought together local contractors and then local suicide prevention and mental health agencies to educate the construction community on the need for suicide prevention within our workforce, and to introduce them to local resources that they could utilize to do that. That really generated a lot of interest within CFMA, the association that we were a part of, and that generated some sessions at the 2016 conference, and an idea from that forum to create this Construction Industry Alliance for Suicide Prevention to extend that interest that was generated within CFMA out to other associations in order to reach a broader audience within the construction community. So this was all going on without any formal idea about really the prevalence of suicide in construction. We could tell that it was an issue. There seemed to be a lot of risk factors, but we didn't know exactly what we were working with. And then on July 1st, 2016, the CDC released a report, the first of its kind, that ranked suicide by industry. And that ranked construction as the #1 industry for number of suicides. And at that time, it was ranked #2 in suicide rate. They've since revised that in 2018 that it was #1 in both the number of suicides and the suicide rate. So it really cemented the efforts that we were working on and gave us credibility that this really was an issue that needed to be addressed. And so there, for the next 2 years, we really worked as this committee and reaching out to the industry and having, other communities putting on summits. There was, over a dozen summits in the last few years, written dozens and dozens of articles between the group of us working on this, and given presentations at multiple different industry events. This all led up to, in August 2018, we decided that the CIASP really was ready to stand on its own, and it was formed as a separate standalone 501c3 organization. So we moved out from being a committee within CFMA out to a standalone organization. That coincided also with our first major financial contribution, which came from SCL Constructors in Chicago, and also led to our first strategic planning meeting, which we held in DC in September of 2018. In May of this year, we held our second strategic planning meeting in DC, and that really gave us direction to where we're at today. And so with that, where we're at today is I'd like to introduce some of the other key players on the team of the CIASP. So myself, I serve as the chairman. Keith Pittovitch, who is the executive director of the Roofers and Waterproofers Research and Education Joint Trust Fund, is our vice chair. Tracy Finolio, who is the controller at FCL Builders, is our treasurer. Steve Tenney is a construction industry consultant at Bergen KDV CPAs, and he serves as our secretary. Stuart Binstock is the president and CEO of the Construction Financial Management Association and serves as a director. Eleni Reed is the head of sustainability at Lend-Lease and serves as a director. And finally, last but not least, is Greg Sizemore, who's the vice president of health, safety, environment, and workforce development at Associated Builders and Contractors, who is another director. And you'll hear from both Keith and Greg here in just a few moments with their roles as stakeholders in the Alliance. So with that, another part of that strategic planning meeting, in addition to cementing our leadership team, was to officially move the administrative duties out of CFMA, who had continued to perform so much of the day-to-day operation even after we became a separate entity, and to move this to an outsourced association management company. So with that, I'd like to introduce Nicole Lazone, who you heard from at the beginning of the broadcast, and she is our primary point of contact at Creative Marketing Alliance, which is the company that we contracted with. And with that, Nicole, would you like to say a few words?
I'd be happy to. So as I said, my name is Nicole Lozon. I'm acting as the account administrator for CIASP. If you have any questions, I did provide my email address. It's nlozon@preventconstructionsuicide.com. I personally have 13 years experience working with nonprofit associations, and my involvement with those associations have been managing memberships, organizing training and educational programs, and managing on-site events as well. Creative Marketing Alliance is actually, as a business, has been around for 32 years. We are a full-service association management and marketing firm, and we currently manage, I need to update this, it's going to be 15 associations. We just signed 2 more. So we have a lot of experience in-house to help the mission of CIASP and see them grow. We're very happy to be partners with them.
Thanks, Nicole. So when anybody reaches out, Nicole, like I said, is the primary contact, and so the info address on the website, those get directed to her, and then she routes them out to the rest of us. So when you reach out, this is Nicole who you'll be reaching out to. So wanted to make sure everybody was familiar with her. So then our next major step that came from that May strategic planning meeting was to clarify that we were a mission-focused organization, not a member-focused organization. And what we had been kind of heading down this path of accumulating members and getting other associations to sign on as members of the Alliance. And what we really realized is that we needed to shift that and be focused more on our mission and focus on engaging with those who can both benefit from and help us achieve our mission. So with this, we've reorganized our prior focus of gaining members, and instead we are encouraging stakeholders to sign our pledge and stand up for suicide prevention. So on the website, you will find the pledge that encourages you to stand up for suicide prevention. And to date, we've engaged a lot of stakeholders. This is the current list on the website, so we're thankful that many of our prior members came over. as stakeholders, and we've also engaged many new contractors, especially with our focus now being much more on the contractors and not just on associations as we had been previously. And so with that, I wanted to just kind of take you through what does the pledge mean? What does it mean to stand up for suicide prevention? And so that everybody can have a better understanding of what we're asking for those stakeholders who engage with the Alliance. So our real mission breaks down to these 5 principles that create this STAND acronym. So SAFE. So first of all, creating a safe culture where employees feel safe to ask for help if they are having suicidal thoughts or if they are concerned that their coworkers are at risk of suicide. So this is really that cultural implication of creating an environment where to try to reduce the stigma of suicide, where people aren't afraid to ask for help for fear of being seen as weak or as being punished for it, or that it's going to affect their ability to remain employed, but that they see the workplace as a safe place to ask for help, to connect with resources that can help them, that they can ask for help for their coworkers, or they know where to go to if their coworkers are at risk. So really focusing on that. A side spin from this is just the element of safety. One of the strong assets that construction has going for it in adopting suicide prevention efforts is its strong safety culture and how well these efforts fit into safety practices within the industry. So SAFE is a #1 real cultural element of making employees feel safe and knowing that the workplace is a safe place to ask for help if needed. Second of all is training. So making suicide prevention training available to all employees so that they can recognize the warning signs and be equipped to help those at risk. So again, fitting this in with a safety model, safety training is a just absolute fundamental for any contractor and something that happens from day one with any new hire to ensure that the safety reputation of the company stays intact. And suicide prevention training should be part of that safety culture. And later, we're going to hear from Living Works, who's going to discuss the training programs that are available through the Alliance. And but we just really want everybody to take a look at that, how important that training is. And that training to recognize the warning signs and know how to help is not only important within the workplace, but it also equips people to help people outside the workplace, so perhaps in their family or with their friends. And so this is the way that we can really impact the entire community through the efforts that we put forth within our workplace. Next is awareness. So raising awareness through organizational activities such as safety meetings, toolbox talks, company meetings, newsletters, and social media to share the message of suicide prevention. So the first step really, this is kind of almost a step 1 before these other things can happen, but it's something where we need to share with people, why are we even talking about this? What is the need within construction to have this suicide prevention? And, why are we talking about it? And then by talking about it, we increase people's comfort level with even having the conversation and talking about suicide and mental health, which are typically not things that are talked about in the workplace or in the construction industry. The other thing with this is just demonstrating kind of all the different places where suicide prevention can be built into an organization. So you see all these different ideas, and the idea is that it's integrated into many different areas, and it's not just kind of a standalone one book that comes off the shelf to just talk about that, but it's really integrated into many different areas of the company. Normalizing the topic of suicide prevention as a health and safety priority by talking about suicide prevention, and mental health, just as I talked about before. Building that awareness then also builds out that understanding and makes the conversation easier for everybody to have the more that it's talked about. And then obviously the end goal of this is decreasing the risk of suicide in construction by helping to ensure access to and awareness of EAPs, behavioral health benefits, screening tools, community crisis support, the suicide prevention lifeline, and the crisis text line. So it's getting those tools into people's hands, helping them know when to use them so that they can step in when needed, they know what to do, and the result of all of that is our ultimate goal of decreasing the risk of suicide in construction. So I hope that's helpful with how you can see how this is something that isn't a separate standalone, somebody needs to, be hired just to handle suicide prevention, but it's really something that can integrate into all aspects of the contracting process and the safety processes that contractors already have in place, and ways that our other stakeholder groups, in addition to contractors who we're obviously trying to engage because there are direct access to the employees along with unions who can really get out to the workforce, how different stakeholder groups can encourage their clients, their members, whatever it is, to get involved. And so with that, I would like to get some other people on the line so that you can have a break from listening to me and hear how some other stakeholders can engage with this process. And so first we have Dave James, who is retired as CFO of F&F Construction. And as I shared at the opening, Dave has been a leader in these efforts from the very beginning. And so I've asked him to share some of the ways that he led the implementation of suicide prevention at F&F Construction.
Hi, thanks, Michelle. F&F we're a heavy highway contractor operating in the Southwest, all the way from Arizona, New Mexico, West Texas. And I'm proud to announce that on September 9th of this year, we signed the STAND pledge when I was in their office doing a lunch presentation for the company. So really proud to have that. But the start of this thing, as Michelle mentioned, was really several years ago. Once we found out that the alarming incidents of suicide deaths among our workforce, our leadership was willing to go ahead and start moving into the communication and awareness stage. We started pretty simple. We started with emails noting the situation around suicide in the industry. We started putting up posters both in the office and out at the job sites. And then just started to talk about it. We have newsletters that go out to employees and our industry partners, and we included articles on suicide prevention, and mental wellness, and added that as a standard item in our weekly health alerts from our HR department. And then one effective tool that we've used has been lunch and learns. We've had quite a few lunch and learns, both with employees and including the field, so that they can call in on a webinar to participate in the lunch and learns if they're out at offsite locations. And we've also invited some of our subcontractors to participate in the lunch and learns as well, to try and spread it beyond just our workforce, but also to our subcontractors, and let them have the opportunity to work within their companies to help the process along as well. One of the early on things we found out, because a lot of what we talk about is resources to mental wellness and employees, is our employee assistance program. And we did some research and found that it was not up to snuff. So we changed and went to a new employee assistance program that I think works a lot better for the company, for the employees. And then we also wanted to have instant access for our employees with phone numbers for the National Lifeline and our EAP. So we gave them wallet cards that they could carry with them. And also many of our employees have charge cards, and we have sleeves that the cards fit in. And on that sleeve, we provide phone numbers for the National Lifeline and the Employee Assistance Program. And then on the wallet cards that we give them, it actually has some of the warning signs, so that they have that right in front of them. If they see one of their coworkers that they're concerned about, they've got that information right there at hand. And then lastly, we also hired a new safety director back in 2018, who was on board with the program. And I'm proud to say that in 2019, the rotation of our toolbox talks this year included information on mental health and suicide prevention. So we've started down the road, a long way to go for sure in the industry, but I'm pretty pleased with what F&F has been able to accomplish in the short time period.
Awesome.
So with
Thanks
that,
so much.
yeah.
Thank you, Dave. F&F has just been a great model for many of us to follow, and we just appreciate your leadership on this. And for those of you listening, later in the webinar, I will go through the resources on the website, and many of the things that Dave referenced, I will show you where you can access those. So these aren't things that you have to create on yourself, but we have these readily available to you. Many thanks to things that Dave did within his workplace, and we use to create for everybody to have access to. So thank you so much, Dave. really appreciate your involvement as always. Next up, we have Keith Pittovitch, who is a trustee of the Alliance and is also the executive director of the Roofers and Waterproofers Research and Education Joint Trust Fund. And he's going to talk to us about some ways that he's gotten involved with his union and ways that unions can be a great stakeholder to get this message out to their members. Keith?
Thank you, Michelle. The United Union of Roofers and Waterproofers, along with North America's Building Trades Unions, NABTU, and the Center for Construction Research and Training, CPWR, have made significant efforts to disseminate information about the alarming problem of suicide in construction, and of course, efforts to get the message out about the CIASP. We have made those efforts by having presentations at NABTU's Apprenticeship and Training Committee meetings, apprenticeship program conferences, district council meetings, business representative meetings, union meetings, international conventions, and joint labor management meetings. Social media and safety and health publications have also played a part to get the information out to our members. One of the new efforts by CPWR is the development of a training program that will discuss the epidemic with opioids, suicide, and mental health. This training program will be consistent with the CISP message and also co-branded with the CISP. Thank you.
Thanks, Keith, so much. You've done so much to educate those of us who haven't worked with unions on the great role that unions can play. And I think you've been a great example to the way that unions can get this message out to their members, to the contractors that you work with, and then also to utilize your resources to get this integrated at a really strong training level. So thank you so much for your leadership on that. Next, I'm pleased to introduce Christy Dombrowski, who is the Director of Editorial Services at the Construction Financial Management Association. And as I referred to before, Christy, CFMA has been the real legs behind this effort for many years, and Christy and I worked alongside each other for several years leading these efforts. And so I would like to introduce her to talk about how now that CFMA isn't at the doing the day-to-day tasks of the Alliance, but now can just really focus on how to be a fantastic stakeholder association within the CIASP, some ways that other associations can consider getting involved.
Thank you, Michelle. The CFMA is an individual member-based association, and so I'll talk about the two different levels in which we work with our members. At the national level, CFMA HQ started promoting the importance of suicide prevention to our members in 2015, like Michelle mentioned. Since then, we've published about 8 articles in our bi-monthly magazine. We have included sessions on mental health and suicide prevention at our annual conferences. And most recently, our education department, along with Michelle and Dave, have created a suicide prevention course that introduces the importance of suicide prevention awareness in construction, and then discusses ways that companies can integrate suicide prevention into their safety and health cultures. And so with that, we are working to host an online version of this 2-part course in early 2020, and then also host a Train the Trainer event at our 2020 annual conference in order to expand the pool of presenters available to reach our chapters. We send a variety of materials that Dave had mentioned and Michelle as well to the annual conference and to our chapters to promote the awareness, such as the folded wallet cards, which seem to be quite popular and really a great way to get information and resources out to people. Wristbands, key tags, lapel pins, and a few other items, but in efforts to spread awareness and show support for the Alliance in suicide prevention. Our marketing department has also supported the CIASP's social marketing efforts by sharing their posts and videos, which contain a wealth of information. We have built, in September, there was a digital campaign, including emails and social media posts, that garnered more attention on some of CFMA's media outlets than some of our other regular content. So it was definitely successful. And on a whole, CFMA has incorporated the Alliance and its efforts in CFMA's strategic plan. So CFMA has committed to contribute $50,000 in financial contributions as well as in-kind staff support. So to that end, our 2019 annual conference, 50% of those proceeds went to the Alliance, and then pleased to announce that our 2020 conference, 100% of those profits will be donated to the Alliance. So we have a golf outing, and we also have a fun run or a 5K, and we raise money through that. That will be donated. And then at the local level, CFMA's chapters have hosted dozens of suicide prevention events, including summits, lunches, and others. Michelle mentioned that Valley of the Sun hosted the first one in April 2016 and was a tremendous leader in that effort. We also have chapters who work with other local organizations, so other chapters of ABC, AGC, and other construction industry associations. They group together and really spread the message and get everybody together to bring mental health professionals and contractors that maybe have experienced a suicide loss or have put suicide prevention efforts in place. And so they put a panel together, and it makes for a very well-rounded event for the industry on a whole. As of next week, 2 CFMA chapters will have presented the 4-hour education course, and more hopefully on the horizon. And Michelle mentioned that CFMA's chapters and member companies have contributed to the Alliance as well in a financial manner, most notably FCL Builders, with about $140,000 raised from its charity event. And then CFMA as an organization, in order to focus the efforts to its members and chapters, has formed a committee to help guide these efforts and address the needs.
Thank you, Christy. Long list of ways to get different examples. Thank you so much, as always, for your leadership and passion and involvement. And it's great to see CFMA continuing to lead the way on different ways to be involved as an association. Next, because associations play such a great role in getting this message out, is we wanted to have 2 associations present as stakeholders to give, kind of different ways that different associations can share the message. And so with that, we have Greg Sizemore, who is the Vice President of Health, Safety, and Workforce Development at ABC, and is also one of the trustees of the Alliance. Greg, if you'll share some ways that ABC has gotten involved and in promoting the message of suicide prevention.
Thank you, Michelle. Let's start with who we are. Associated Builders and Contractors is a national trade association that represents 21,000 construction contractors or related firms, and by that I mean accounting, legal, software, service providers, and distributors. We're a national network of 69 chapters, and all of those chapters work together to promote a common set of principles in the construction industry. Our national office is in Washington, D.C., and here we oversee the day-to-day operations of the association, while our chapters provide the value to their local membership across the nation. And as you can tell, it's a pretty complex organization, but our approach to navigating this complexity is really simple when it comes to getting the word out to suicide prevention and suicide awareness. And it's all about communicate, communicate, communicate. Just when you think you've done enough, you need to do more. We began this journey much like CFMA did. And what's encouraging about this is we're all kind of rowing in the same direction rather than a fragmented approach to this topic. But our journey began many, many years ago, and we implemented several media strategies from the very beginning, including publishing more than a dozen articles written by subject matter experts in this topic area through one of our construction executive magazine, which is CE has a distribution of about 55,000 members, both ABC members and friends of ABC, as we refer to them. It's one of the most popular ongoing series is in our construction executive magazine, and that really began to raise awareness of the topic in our association, particularly among our members. We also published more than a dozen articles on suicide prevention and awareness in our newsline, which is once a week. We send this out to our members to give them insights of things that are happening nationally in our industry. Working with CFMA and other partners, we've hosted several webinars that our members could log into, our chapters can log into, and they can actually hear more information about suicide prevention and awareness. And additionally, we have gotten many op-eds published on national news outlets, as well as giving or equipping our chapters with templates that they could fill in and send as editor letters and other media resources that they can use locally. I think finally, as a member-driven organization, it's important to understand that we host several key events every year. And we speak about this topic as a standalone session, as well as coupled with topics such as substance abuse, safety, and risk. If I say there's one significant thing that we did as an association, when we became part of CIASP, our biggest initiative to date was incorporating suicide awareness and prevention into our association-wide strategic plan as a specific line item. We assigned that specific line item and all initiatives associated with that to our ABC National Safety Committee, which is representation or representatives from our chapters from across the country. That was done to ensure deployment of all resources out to our chapters and to our members. In addition to that, we also added suicide awareness and prevention to our STEP program, which is a safety management system that our members participate in to ensure that they're assessing themselves or their safety programs against what we would prefer to say are world-class standards and what their peers are doing. And so by virtue of not only communicating through a national level of our major board meetings or our other meetings, by virtue of communicating to our chapters consistently, by virtue of touching our members directly, and then lastly, connecting this to our strategic plan, we're beginning to really pick up some momentum in our association with respect to bringing awareness to this. So this is a very important topic. I'm excited to be a part of it. And again, I hope some of those nuggets will just resonate with you wherever you are. It's all about communications, communications, communications. Thank you, Michelle.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Greg. And thank you so much for ABC's leadership in this. Couldn't do it without you. So really, really appreciate it. Next is a stakeholder group of industry service providers. And we recognize that there are people out in the community who work with contractors, so they're not necessarily direct construction companies, but they work with so many contractors that they would be a great touch point to get this message out to their clients. And so one of those who's been a great partner in this has been Epic Insurance Brokers and Consultants. And so we have with us today Mary Grandi, who is a Senior Vice President of Business Insurance for Epic, to talk to us about ways that she's seen Epic get this message out to their clients.
Thank you, Michelle. I do appreciate the opportunity. My partner, Chuck Yorio, who's been doing a lot of heavy lifting, couldn't be here today, but I couldn't do this without giving him a proper shout out. At Epic, we understand that suicide prevention and mental health is not just a risk management issue, but a human issue. And as service partners to industries of all shapes and sizes, it's something that's been inherently part of our culture in raising awareness, both on an employee benefits, overall employee wellness side, but also from a safety loss control perspective. So from early on, with the staggering statistics that the construction industry faces, the mission and goals of CIASP has been something that's been very important to Epic from our National Construction Practice Group, because as service partners, we reach those that maybe aren't members of an association. We have, as you mentioned, Michelle, we have contacts with raising awareness in ways that maybe the association cannot. So we have partnered with CIASP from early on because your mission aligns with our culture and the people first. We've been working diligently to support and promote the mission of CIASP. We have spoken, it's given us an opportunity to write articles on the subject from an overall wellness, integrating the management culture within the teams as far as building mental health as a safety mandate into your individual cultures, and trying to do our best in helping CIASP raise their voice and get a stronger footprint and promote the safety and culture, again, of the overall well-being of the individual.
Awesome. Thank you, Mary. And just, as Mary said, there's the service providers represent a group who can touch contractors who may not be a part of associations and may not really be out there, getting plugged in within the community and reading things and stuff like that. But every company has to have insurance, and we also look to, CPA, everybody has to have an accountant, people have bonding agents. So looking out to these providers like insurance and sureties and CPAs to be that connection point to somebody who may have missed the message from all the different other avenues that we're looking to, and also people that know their clients. And so they know maybe when they've experienced a loss and they need help connecting with help to deal with it, or they see some level of risk. So the service providers within the industry definitely have a big role to play in getting this message out. And so, Mary, we thank you and EPIC for what you've done to help with that mission. Lastly, as a stakeholder group, we have mental health and suicide prevention partners. So there's what you may have picked up so far in this is that many of us who are involved in construction or in associations. None of us are specifically trained in suicide prevention or mental health. And so we have really appreciated the help and support of many professionals within the mental health and suicide prevention space to support our efforts and to, just give us correction and education in the nuances of the messaging. And so with that, I'd like to introduce Lisa Desai, who is the Director of Mental Health Screenings and Research for MindWise Innovations, to share some ways that MindWise has been able to fill that partnership role in ways that others may be able to as well. Lisa?
Thank you, Michelle. Hello, everyone. So MindWise Innovations is a part, to give you a little history, a division of Riverside Community Care. So we're behavioral health. We've been in the behavioral health field for 30 plus years. And we've engaged in the STAND pledge for a couple of reasons. One is our long-standing relationship with CIASP. At MindWise, we have an overarching goal. We're nonprofit, mission-driven to approach and address suicide prevention. And we do that in three ways. One is through behavioral health online self-screening and education. And you'll get a sense in a little later in the presentation of what our screening platform is like and what the tools are like. We also provide post-prevention services because unfortunately we know we cannot prevent every incident or death by suicide. And in that case, we provide post-prevention on site and as needed so that one, it prevents any copycat or contagion effect of a suicide, and it really allows a community, a work site, a construction site to heal after an event. We also have a youth suicide prevention program called SOS, which we believe kind of goes down the pipeline to really get the education early in the schools around mental health awareness, signs of depression, and suicide prevention. So given all of that, that was the main reason we wanted to be part of the pledge for STAND. Part of that is we did provide the online screening tool for CIASP members, which you'll see on the website. The other reason that we became engaged is we're currently working with Turner Construction, and many of you may know they're a leader in the field in terms of large construction companies, and they really have recognized the fact that we need to think about safety as not only what's outside the hard hat, as they put it, but to expand the idea of safety to what's going on inside the hard hat. So to give you some examples of what behavioral health orgs can do in our approach is really to think about what's universal and sustainable in looking at these issues and looking at behavioral health. And so some lessons we've learned to share is that beginning with leadership is key, the buy-in from leadership to create an environment, as the STAND pledge is saying in terms of providing a safe culture is key. However, it can't just live with leadership. It's important across the board at all levels of employment, from guys on the site, women on the site, to foremen, to leaders, decision makers, for everyone to be engaged in the commitment to suicide prevention and behavioral health awareness. We believe, and we've seen, that that is slowly shifting the culture, as some of you have spoken to be able to talk openly about mental health issues and really think about what can you embed in the system that will be sustainable and that will continue on. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Lisa. And we really appreciate your support, and we'll talk to you again in a couple moments about the screening tools that are available on the website, thanks to MindWise. Before that, we're going to shift over and now discuss some of the tools that are available on the website. So for those of you who haven't been to our website before, it's preventconstructionsuicide.com, and we'll go through some other aspects of what's available on there. But first, we wanted to bring awareness to two really great resources that are available. The first is the training that's available. So we talked, T is such a big thing that it's one of the letters within our stand pledge to train our employees. And to do that, we've partnered with Living Works to provide this training. And you can see just kind of on the screen where this is available on the website under Get Informed, and then training is available there. And this will bring you to this Living Works page. We have with us today Randy Thompson, who is the Vice President of Business Development with Living Works Education, to talk to us about what the Living Works START training that we have available looks like, and how and why this should be implemented into businesses. So, Randy, turn it over to you.
Thanks, Michelle, and truly inspiring to hear all the activity going on with the stakeholders in support of your mission. We are extremely honored to be a part of that. We are also a mission-driven organization providing in-person suicide prevention training for over 35 years now. Most popular includes our Safe Talk and Assist workshops, having recently launched our new online training called START. Just quickly around about Living Works, our mission is simple, is to see a world free of suicide. And while we realize that is a hefty mission, we are focused truly on building safer communities and ensuring that we are addressing the needs for individuals and where they both live, work, play, and learn. Today I'll talk a bit about START, and you can move to the next slide, Michelle. When we think about START, it's truly building an awareness and engagement skill set for individuals who complete the training. We believe that it's the fact that it is quite accessible. You can complete the training either on a computer or even on your cell phone. And it's truly preparing trainees to recognize when someone's in a bit of distress and be able to connect that individual to safety. It's an introduction to suicide prevention. Again, it does not require a background in mental health. Really, this training is for all, and it is for anyone who has an interest in suicide prevention and wants to be a helper. In terms of the benefits, Michelle, for trainees, truly it's the question is, why should I complete this training? There are a lot of risks in the workplace. It's important that trainees learn skills around keeping themselves safe and being able to support others. Living Works START will help build confidence in individuals and that prepare them to help someone who's in need, and really remove the stigma around mental health and the stigma around suicide prevention. There are interactive scenarios within START. I believe there are 6 of them that allows trainees to practice suicide prevention engagement and support for others, and ask that difficult question, are you thinking about suicide? Again, it's really focused on prevention, and it's really focused on training people as helpers and not necessarily help seekers. So it's providing support for each other on the site when often you're in fairly remote locations and decentralized locations and heavily reliant on each other. Living Work Start, I think, is key to supporting individuals who are thinking about suicide. In terms of benefits for employers, there are a number of them. Ideally, and I love the wording around your pledge in terms of your stand pledge. I think it does speak to that. And Mary had mentioned earlier that suicide is really a human issue, and we believe that. So it's critical for organizations to provide that education and help mitigate workplace injuries. Again, break down the stigma and building improved cultures of helping and safety within organizations, to say that it's okay to talk about some issues that are affecting you and that it doesn't cause a risk to you in terms of your employment, that we are all in this together and we are engaging each other in a supportive environment and building that culture of safety. I'll talk a little bit about Connect on the next slide, which we felt that if our mandate was to build a world free of suicide and building safer communities, we needed to build a platform that would allow people to connect and do that, and that's what we've done. We are in the first phase of our Connect platform, which is essentially an opportunity for people to not only track their suicide prevention trainings and track their interventions, but really sharing resources with each other, inviting others into your suicide prevention world, and also allows organizations to be able to track utilization and track the impact that the training that they're providing is having on their members. Again, we are in phase 1 of Connect, and we look to build on that so that individuals are better able to share resources and information, and you can do that from the comforts of your own home, from your laptop, or from any device. So we're very excited about Connect and the ability to bring people together. In terms of how to access, we wanted to make it as easy as possible, and I know CISP did. So we created a website where people can go to access START. There's a subsidy available as well, as you can see. So we're trying to mitigate the cost in terms of providing suicide prevention awareness and safety. And again, it's just really around ease of access. So we do encourage and hope that individuals and members see the value that this training can bring, and that, again, you don't have to be a mental health expert to be a helper. It's really training for all. So thank you very much for your time.
Thanks so much, Randy. And yes, for all of you listening, we have available for stakeholders the Lend-Lease, who has made a generous contribution. We have underwritten the cost of this training, so it's available for $15 a person, which is great value for this really robust training. Also in the future, Randy mentioned their Safe Talk and Assist programs, which are in-person workshop trainings. And we have a goal to host those in several cities across the country for contractors to attend and to send people to get the next levels of training that are available through Living Work. So START is a great place to do just that, start with the training. And then our hope is that people will get engaged and you'll identify champions within the workplace who want to take that next step and become further trained on suicide prevention. And we can help facilitate those by hosting some workshops in the coming year for people to attend. So thank you, Living Works. Next, we're going to go back to Lisa and to talk about the screening portal that is available on the website. So again, this is on the website under Get Informed, and then MindWise Screening is here. And Lisa's going to walk us through what the MindWise Screening has to offer for employees and why this should be a part of workplace screening programs. Lisa?
Thank you again, Michelle. And I have to say, Randy, I couldn't agree more that I think it's important for the general population to be trained as helpers, not only to rely on mental health experts, which of course there's a key role there, but I think the more people, all of us know what to do in certain situations, the more help we can be. So I'll give you a quick overview. So MindWise, again, really believes very strongly early detection, early treatment, better outcomes. And we do this by equipping, educating communities, organizations, schools, empowering through screening. We really believe that when you know what's going on with yourself, what the struggles are, what steps you can take to get help, you're really empowering. And we enhance our program continually from feedback from clients, partners, and so forth. So next slide. Thanks. So this is how we are, kind of addressing various aspects of the stand, the safe culture, again, with schools, workplaces, to really think about how do we talk about behavioral health, because in order to decrease suicide risk, we need to know how to talk about depression, how to talk about overwhelming anxiety, how to talk about post-traumatic stress. And one of the pieces that we've really learned in working with Turner is there's a great discomfort, not only in the construction industry, but in our culture of talking about what these mental health issues are. The trainings we provide through trauma postvention, our behavioral health learnings, and the Signs of Suicide program. So you can see through awareness, the normalizing is huge. Through the screenings, through the education, the more we can decrease stigma, the more we can have open conversations, which allows us to normalize these struggles and really encourages people to reach out for help so that those that are trained as helpers and know how to do that can step in. So next. So here's an overview of our screening program. So there are currently 11 validated brief screening tools. The way the tools work, they take 2 to 3 minutes. They're completely anonymous, and so we ask for no identifying information. We store no information. When you leave, when you come to the end of the screen, you can email results to yourself, or you can print the results. Once you exit the screen, the information is gone. So we're very clear that organizations understand that, and also the users that are taking the screen understand that. We actually are adding an opioid screen that's in development to be added to our platform, largely in part because of our work with construction, because there is such a need, and we know that in addition to suicide risk, opioid misuse and death by opioids is a second leading cause of death in that population. So when I walk you through the platform, you'll see where there's customization available. While there is not the ability to track individual users and see the outcome of whether they're following up with help seeking, due to the anonymity, we can collect aggregate data. And by that I mean organizations can understand how many of their workers are taking the screen for depression versus PTSD versus gambling, what the gender breakdown may be, what the age breakdown may be. And that's really useful information in terms of providing additional resources, tools, workshops, and so forth. The screens are available in English and Spanish as well. So thanks, Michelle. So this is the landing page, and as you can see, it gives a little bit of information about mental health and substance misuse. Gives you an idea of why checkups can help, the anonymity, and that it's quick. So next screen, Michelle. So when you get to the landing page, this is an example of what you'd see. All of the screens are not listed here. So it's a description of what somebody may be experiencing. And then here we're going to walk through a couple of aspects of the depression scale. Again, all of our tools are brief versions of validated tools. It's very important that they're evidence-based and are found to measure what they're supposed to measure. So this is an example from our HANDS depression. This would be a question. As you can see, it's very straightforward. A really great thing about taking the screen is also that it is, a secondary gain is it's teaching us what are these symptoms and how can we pay attention to them in ourselves and others to inform conversation. Next screen, please. So this is an example of, for some of our screens, depression being one of them, there is a question about, are you thinking of ending your life? And in that type of a question, if somebody answers, even for some of the time or a little of the time, that kind of a response, this pop-up box would appear, which gives, as you can see, information for the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. So a person can, connect with them, get off the screen, make a call, or they can continue with the screening. As you can see, you press a button and you can return to the screening. So this is an example of the results page. This language is consistent and non-customizable. We were very careful to make the language accessible, understandable, and also to give people a sense that they're not in this alone. If we look at the statistics, we know that a third of the population across the United States has experienced anxiety in a given year, and 18 million people have experienced depression in a given year. So a large part of what we want to do with this results page is to remind people that you're not alone. Unfortunately, I don't think I included the results page. If you screen down from here, there is a results page, and that's customizable. So let's say our carpenters union wants to have this as their screening tool for their association. They could put the carpenters EAP. If there's a video doctor link, if there's teletherapy, that link would go directly on the results page and the resources page that's linked to that. So this is another piece that we've added that appears after every screen, and it's custom and it's set. That's not customizable, but as you can see here, this is a fact that matters for depression. And again, the idea is to give information and to also give some hopeful statistics, because I think so often we're inundated with statistics that can really be quite overwhelming and very sobering. So it's a way to say, hey, treatment is actually very useful, and a large number of people struggle. If you go to the little icons, they give you a bit of information about what you can do in the moment in your everyday life that can help with anxiety, depression, mental health issues, and can make a difference. So, so that's it for this demo. You can, as Michelle said, you can go to the screening site at CIASP, take the screen. If anyone is interested, I'll send my follow-up email information if people have any questions about the screening tools. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Lisa. And so you can see that these are two really great resources that are available on the website for any contractors to access, anybody to access, but the training and then the MindWise screening under the Get Informed tab. I know that we're running short on time here. I'm going to quickly go through some of the resources on the website. I hope that you can stay on. If not, hopefully this has given you enough information that you can go and explore a little bit more on your own. But we did just want to go through the website real quick. So this is the new preventconstructionsuicide.com website. You can see that it's full of information and full of links to additional information and to resources throughout. The first tab here is Get Help, so that we wanted to make it really simple that if somebody happened to search, suicide and it was because they were looking for help and they came across our website, the resources are there for them to connect with help. So Get Help now, and then there's questions here that they can kind of do a little bit of self-assessment of being at risk or to use for other people that they might be concerned of as well. Get Informed, that's where the training and MindWise screening are both at. This also just has awareness. So if you want to know more about what makes construction so at risk, or if you are trying to present this and share this information with other people, there's a lot of information here about why construction is an at-risk industry. We also have our events calendar here, which we are looking forward to getting more filled up as more and more activities take place around suicide prevention. The place that I want to spend the most time is under Get Started. We talked about taking the stand and what the Stand Up Pledge stands for, and the links to the different stakeholder groups to take that pledge are here on the page under Get Started and Stand Up for Suicide Prevention. But the main place that I want to just focus everybody's attention is on our integration resources. And so this page we organized in a way that we hoped would be helpful for people to access and use the information. And so just where do you begin? And so we've got two great tools to get you started on this. So we have this needs analysis and integration checklist. That is a link here on the page, analysis and integration checklist. It's a PDF document that takes you through some questions that you can ask yourself as an organization about what you may or may not be doing, kind of do some self-assessment, and then some action steps to consider for taking steps towards moving the needle to integrating those practices in the workplace. It also gives you a checklist of different steps that you can be taking and to kind of help you organize who in your organization is best to get involved in those in order to take action steps to integrating. Another document in that section is a 3-level document. So this is just a way that may be more user-friendly to some people that are really just getting started on this, of saying, I'm not doing anything, where do I start? There's a level 1 to some basic steps to gather information and start the conversation. Moving up to level 2 if you're doing something and you want to know some next steps where you can go from there. And then level 3 of really, focusing on growing that culture within the company. So those are the 2 documents here on the where do you begin. After that, we looked at it from a prevention approach of how do we prevent suicide and build protective factors in the workplace, to intervention, which is going to help address when risk factors are present, recognize warning signs, and connect employees to care. And then postvention of resources if a crisis happens, how to properly handle that. And so within each are some links to different tools, as well as links to articles and different PDF documents where you can explore and gain some further information and understanding. And so the tools that Dave referenced earlier and others have referenced, the wallet cards, the template for those that you can print is there under the prevention tools. So this is the document that comes up and you can print that. And then, they can be folded cards so that everybody has access to the contact information for if they are in crisis and need to talk to somebody, and also what the warning signs are. We also have 4 different posters, both in English and Spanish and in different sizes. Those are available on the website to download under the prevention resources. So those are really popular tools. As well, the toolbox talks are on there. And so there's 4 different toolbox talks that are customizable with your company name and logo, and just so that you can use and integrate into your toolbox talks rotation. Those are great tools to have. So you can see that there's lots of resources here. There's a special section for resources for veterans. Veterans in the construction workforce are one of the reasons that we're especially at risk because of the number of veterans. And there's some great websites out there outside of ours that provide a lot of resources for employers of veterans to be sure to build protective factors in for them as they return to civilian workforce. And so those are the big resources and where you can really learn a lot and get a lot of prepared information to start integrating this into your workplace. Real quick, we just wanted to show also that on the website is where you can make a donation. So we are fully funded exclusively through donations. We love our supporters who are listed on here, and we thank each of them. And we also want to continue to grow that list. Some ways that you may have heard people have done this is through associations, being a recipient of fundraising at conference or association events. If you have a corporate fundraiser, again, that was our very first source of funding, was a corporate fundraiser that we were the recipient of the fundraising proceeds from. As you plan for year-end giving, if you would consider the Construction Industry Alliance, we are a 501c3 organization, and it's fully tax deductible. And if there's a specific area that your organization maybe would like to support, we would consider a targeted recognition. So such as Lend-Lease has focused their contributions to our training and are really recognized as kind of our training sponsor. We are happy to do that too. So if there's a specific area you're interested in, please don't hesitate to kind of specify that. The donate links are here on the website to donate online through our PayPal account, and then a form to donate by mail if you'd prefer to mail that in. Finally, I wanted to point out just our social media presence. We do have Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. And we did just create a YouTube page where we'll be linking this webinar as well as some other informational videos that we hope to create in the near future. We encourage you to engage with each of those links, follow those so that you can receive the information that we're providing on them, share the information that we post on your channels so that we can increase visibility and followership. Tag the CIASP in your posts on activities that you may be doing. That's a great way for others to learn from what you may be doing in your organization, and then provide us with content. So if you're doing great things or you have ideas of information that could be helpful to others, we would love to see that, and feel free to share that with us so that we can get it included on our social media channels. With that, I think we're just about ready to close up. I apologize, bouncing back and forth here. And so just some final steps of encouraging everybody to take the pledge to stand up for suicide prevention, get your workforce signed up for the START training, promote the screenings as part of your wellness program and the benefit of those. Put those resources to use that are on the website. We've worked hard to make them available, and the more people that use them, the better that investment in those gets put to use. Promote and support the Alliance. Tell other people about your involvement and why they should get involved too, and encourage them to become stakeholders and to take the pledge. Follow, tag, and share with us on social media. Take a survey. So Nicole and I will be sending out a survey in the next week or so to hear from you. What are ways that we can better service you? What tools do you need? And then stay engaged. This is an ongoing process. This isn't something that is just take one step and close the book and put it back up on the shelf, but this is something that we really want you to stay engaged with. And we want to know how we can stay engaged with you. So if you have ideas for things that we could be doing better, that we could be providing to help impact more people, we want to hear from you, and we appreciate your involvement with that. So with that, I appreciate you guys staying on for a little bit of extra time. I hope that you have found this beneficial. Please feel free to reach out to Nicole or I with any questions. We can connect you with any of our panelists if you have specific questions for them. And the link for this will be available by early next week, and we'll make sure that that gets out to everybody so that if you would like to share this with others, that will be available to do. So with that, thank you so much for your participation, and we hope to engage with you all again soon. Have a great day.
Thank you to all of our panelists on today's webinar. We appreciate you taking time out of your day to educate our attendees. This concludes today's webinar.